It was the most shocking and important result of the day. And there's a lot to unpack there.
We just have to talk about Ryan Day. It is well, we can get to the rest of it. It starts with Ryan Day and cascades from there. Ryan Day, you wrote the headline perfectly in your column. Ryan Day has a Michigan problem, and Ohio State has a Ryan Day problem, because you can't be the head coach at Ohio State if you can't beat Michigan. And for whatever reason, Ryan Day can't beat Michigan. Because if you can't beat this Michigan team, like the Michigan team that's going to fire the money cannon at Bryce Underwood next week, and then fire the money cannon into the transfer portal, if you can't beat this one, the one next year is going to be way better.
Yeah, so like the thing that is tough about the Ryan Day discourse is that when he lost 3 in a row, and it doesn't matter how good Michigan is, you can't lose 3 in a row as Ohio State.
Ohio State's good too. Yeah.
But Michigan was also very good during those 3 years. It wasn't like they were like laying eggs against crappy teams because they were like Michigan won the national title last year, and Ohio State had the ball within a possession with a minute left. Like that, they lost. It's inexcusable. You understand it though.
Yeah.
Like you can like wrap your head around it.
Hold on. Alex still in the chat. TCU crushed your mighty SEC Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl, Andy. Alec, I didn't say they would have lost to Alabama that year. I said they would have lost to Ohio State. That's a Big Ten team. Try to keep up.
When that happened, I was 24 years old, skating on Tinder. Like, why are we talking about this right now?
Yeah. If you want to call me a Big Ten 2014 homer, by all means, go ahead.
He's a Buckeye homer.
Yeah.
How's it feel, asshole? You're a Buckeye homer.
Oh, my God. Well, nobody's a Buckeye homer today. And that's the conversation we're having here.
But the thing that is really off-putting, if you're an Ohio State fan, is that Ryan Day has been compared to John Cooper incessantly for the last few years. He's a person who's not from Ohio, who came in, recruits nationally, has really talented rosters, and doesn't win against Michigan. This is the first time they lost to a bad team, period. Not just a bad Michigan team. They haven't lost a single game under Ryan Day's leadership to a team that bad. Forget the helmets. They just haven't. They've lost a lot of big games, but they have lost 0 games.
They could have played pure Trestle ball, pure Kirk Ferentz ball, keep away. Forced Michigan to drive the length of the field, and they should have won that game by 3 touchdowns if they did that.
Yeah, well, they could not run the football, which is an entirely different discussion. But the point here is that you can, like in the past, it was like, why did he punt before halftime instead of trying to score a touchdown? Or why did he kick a long field goal? You had like all these like micro transactions and decisions that he had during the game that you could break down and go, well, he choked, or he didn't coach well, or they made this decision, or their this position wasn't good enough. Like there was an answer to it. But when you have a team like Michigan this year, who just frankly isn't a good football team, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be an asshole. They're just not good this year.
Yeah.
Like the problem isn't a personnel group or a decision. It is a temperament.
It's a program.
It's a program. It's something is broken. And it's beyond breaking down stars and talent and draft picks and all the things that we've spent the last 3 years doing.
No, it's you see a winged helmet and you poop your pants. Like what? Why?
And it's like any Ohio State fan that's older than 20 listening to this.
Like, would they lose to Delaware just because of the helmets? Princeton?
Yeah, maybe. That's a good point. But any Ohio State fan over 25 or who was alive watching football in the 90s remembers that John Cooper look on the sideline during Michigan games. And if you don't remember, I'll show it to you.
And that look, you saw that look.
That's an anxious man who is out of answers. And Ryan Day at times in the past has looked like that. But if
you saw it today,
the game on Saturday, it was the entire fourth quarter. While they were running the ball down the field, a team that
there it is. It's on the screen right now.
You literally can't.
It's on the screen right now.
Even throw a forward pass. They did have a few third down conversions that were nice throws that Davis Warden had. But for the most part, like you knew that if they were going to get into field goal range, it was going to be on the ground. And Kalel Malling still ran that 27-yarder into the red zone. Like he just knew it. It's like everybody in the stadium knew it. There's a tension.
Didn't I say it? When's the dam breaking? When's the big run coming? Like you just knew.
The dam shouldn't break. They don't have any other ability. So like, but that's the problem. Like I was on On3's Letterman Row podcast with Spencer Holbrook 2 weeks ago talking about the Indiana game, and the Michigan game came up, and he made an off comment about, yeah, well, whenever I'm at a Michigan press conference, it could never have been more tense than when just tense in the room. And I'm like, that is the literal problem. Like you being in the room and realizing and feeling how tense it is, it travels into the locker room. It travels into the stadium. Did you see those fans today? They look like they were having fun.
No, they look miserable.
They look like they were just like waiting for it to happen again. And it's a contagious thing. So you have a coach at the moment right now, Andy, who is scared to death of Michigan. And I don't know if it's insulting to say, but the results bear that's what it is. So it doesn't matter how much money you spend in NIL, what quarterback you go get, whatever you're going to do, like there is never going to be a mismatch larger than the one that they possess today again.
Yeah.
With Bryce Underwood and their NIL monster woke up, guys. So like that is it. Like,
well, okay, that now it's time to shift to the other piece of the conversation. This is what I wrote about. Because if Sherrone Moore can beat Ohio State with this Michigan team, imagine what he can do when he can actually put his roster together. Because what have I said all year about Michigan? Chiron Moore was put in a terrible position by the way Jim Harbaugh timed his departure. And Jim Harbaugh timed his departure on the NFL's coaching carousel schedule. So you can't really blame Jim Harbaugh for that. He had to wait till the jobs were open. The jobs were open. He interviewed for them. But he didn't get the Chargers job until January 24th. At that point, everybody good you wanted out of the portal was gone. You had passed on any potential quarterback you could take out of the portal. Sherrone Moore was hamstrung offensively. Now, he did inherit a great wealth of defensive talent. And by God, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham and Josiah Stewart and Derek Moore played a hell of a game against Ohio State. They were awesome. But the offense that was stitched together, what they stitched together with Alice Orji to win the USC game, what they stitched together today with Davis freaking Warren and Khalil Mullings and your video game cover guy, he's not had the greatest season. Donovan Edwards didn't have a great season. Khalil Mullings was carrying it. The offensive line doing the best it can, but the defenses know the passing game is limited. The fact that they managed to put together a game plan to beat Ohio State with that.
Well, it's like the thing that's alarming too is that I don't know if you think Will Howard's good or not. I thought he's had a really good year.
I thought he had a fine year. I thought he threw he threw a bad pick today, but guess what? So did Davis Warren threw an awful pick too on what should have been a touchdown. Yeah.
Quinshot Judkins, Trey Henderson, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Emeka Egbuka.
You're right.
Like they scored 0 points in the second half. And I know they missed a field goal or two.
But it shouldn't even matter. Like you shouldn't be kicking field goals because you have freaks all over the field.
Ball back with 50 seconds left, and they have to get into field goal range. They can't even get a first down. The entire game, they couldn't move the football. So, and I don't know if it was poor play call. Like, break it down. Go ahead. Try to break it down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is the first year where it's like, did Chip Kelly call a bad game? Is Will Howard the wrong portal take? Should Ohio State have gotten Cam Ward? Would they be better if their offensive line didn't explode? Like, yeah, I mean, all those things are part of it. But, the team that they fielded today is 20 points better than the team that they lost to.
Yeah.
Period. And it's like, well, they lost. So anyway.
What do you do though? What do you do?
I don't know.
Okay.
They asked him after the game what he should do. Ryan Day is like, I don't know.
I will start.
What's he going to do?
I'll ask you, Ari Wasserman, because you're not bound by actually having the job. If you're Ryan Day, what do you do? Do you go try to find another job? Or do you say, I'm going to fix this?
He's got two options. He can quit. I don't think, let's get this out there. I don't think he's going to get fired. Do you think he's going to get fired?
No, I don't think. I think that is the one option that is not on the table. Okay. It's super expensive. Ross Bjork just got there. Also, you look at the guy's record. You're not firing him with that record. You're just not.
Yeah. I don't know if I think that this is a big enough problem where you could consider it. A big enough problem where you can consider it. But I agree with you. I don't think he's going to get fired. So he's got two options. One, quit. And when I say quit, meaning go take another job somewhere because you don't want to deal with it anymore. Or two, try again next year and try to bring as many players. Like, here's the thing. They're losing everybody too.
Right.
So that's
the thing. This was that version. This was the Ohio State version of last year's Michigan team where everybody came back for one more ride. They could have been in the NFL, but they decided to come back and try to win a national championship. And by the way, they still can. That's not off the table.
We can go. Like, here's
But
the thing:
the team that loses to that Michigan team is not going to win the playoff.
the thing that is interesting to me is the best game that Ryan Day has coached at Ohio State was the 2022 loss to Georgia in the playoff, and that was after they lost to Michigan. So if Ryan Day can get out of his head, has a month to prepare or 3 weeks to prepare with a new offensive line, like, they have the talent to play with anybody in this sport. I'm not gonna talk myself. They're like, there's nothing to talk yourself into right now. It was a terrible day, and it's just a disaster. Like, I'm not trying to pretend like, oh, they're gonna go win the national. I would never even predict that. But the difference between 2021 Ryan Day and 2019 Ryan Day and 1996 John Cooper is that this game in the past, this game last year ended your season.
Yeah.
So, like, Ryan Day doesn't have time to cry about it. They are going to be in the playoff 99% starting in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Like, they might go on the road to Knoxville.
They could be in a playoff game in 20 days.
And like, they could legitimately, it's not legitimately like I think it's going to happen, but it is within the realm of possibility that they could win a national championship. And this is a secondary conversation, which I think is a very interesting one. It's like, what if Ohio, because I said, well, what do you even do from here? And you were like, go win the national championship. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, but like, is all forgiven? Like, do we just forget about this problem?
I think a lot is forgiven if you win the national championship, but yes, it's still Ohio State, Michigan. And even though there's a mechanism to lose to Michigan and win the national title still, which there was in the 4 team as well.
Yeah.
But
it happened once almost. Yeah.
But no, not all is forgiven, because in that rivalry, you can't lose it like this. You can't keep losing it.
Yeah. And it's like, I regret, the one thing I regret, Andy, is that I wussed out. And I just like, I can't prove it. I should have written the column I wanted to write on Monday, which is forget how many good players you have. That's not what this is going to be about. And I would have looked like a freaking genius, but I didn't, because the spread was 20, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this. People are going to call me.
Well, I think we might have been underestimating Chiron Moore too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think people would have just called me a shit stirrer, and I didn't want to live through that during Thanksgiving. So I'm a wuss. I should have written it. It's a lesson learned, though, because I'm going to become more insufferable now in the future. But like, that is what it is. And like, it reminds me of, like, not just John Cooper not winning the Michigan game, Andy, but like, John Cooper's superpower as Ohio State's coach was super
recruiting.
Ohio State had super teams.
Well, they were loaded. Yeah.
Eddie George, Orlando Pace, Sean Springs, Antoine Winfield, Andy Katzenmoyer, Terry Glenn, David Boston. Like, think about these names that I'm just saying. Never won a national title. Lost him. Was he 2-9-1? Is that what the record was?
Yeah.
There for 13 years, won twice. Like, this is the same problem. And like, Michigan had some good teams in the 90s. They had some NFL guys. Like, they weren't dog shit in the 90s, but like, they still
were.
That
Brady guy. He was okay.
Yeah. I don't even remember his career there. I don't.
Well, it was a lot of Drew Henson and him. Will they or won't they?
Did he start a whole season for them at one point?
Not really.
So it was a very forgettable career. Anyway, same problem. It's like, history is repeating itself in front of our eyes. And it's like, in 2024, when you spent reportedly $20 million on your roster, you don't get 13 years to figure it out. And he's getting paid $9-10 million a year.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you don't get, so you're like, John Cooper amount of time.
Fire him.
I've seen a lot of wistful John Cooper takes.
But
like,
you said they're not going to fire him. Like, you were definitive about that. And I think you're right.
Not this year. If it happened again next year, I think they would.
Because like I said last year, if it happened this year, it would, because of the circumstances at home against an overmatched team that lost their coach, lost everybody. You can't say they're cheating anymore. You're a 20-point favorite. Like, how it does not get worse than that. So, I mean, he's going to have an opportunity. I'm assuming one day he'll have a team that's good enough to go win the game. But like, it's just,
he had a team good enough to win the game today.
I know. So
like that, it's so strange
about this. We talked about this 2 months ago in person. We were with him at the Woody.
He knows it.
Like,
it's not, and that's the thing. Ryan Day is not in denial. Like, it's not like he's walking around in some cloud, some fog, thinking it doesn't matter if I beat Michigan. Like, he knows.
Did you watch his news conference today?
Yes, it was sad.
It looked like a broken man, dude.
Yeah,
like, I was like, it was.
Meanwhile, Sherrone Moore gets asked about the flag planting thing and the fight. The Ohio State players start the fight after the Michigan players try to plant the flag, and Sherrone Moore gets asked, do you think there should be something, like losing graciously? And Chiron Moore's like, don't know, hadn't lost.
Yeah.
So 2-0 in the rivalry.
Like, I don't know if you want to like talk about the post game scuffle.
Well, let's do that. Now we've put the Ohio State subject to bed for now. We can't solve the issue. It's a thorny problem, and they're gonna have to figure it out.
Like, what happens if they go to Knoxville and lose? Like, then what? It's another big game against a team that's built really well.
Yeah. Then you figure it out.
Revisit it. So
yeah. Let us talk about the end of games, because you had it in the Michigan-Ohio State game where the Michigan players attempt to plant the flag. The Ohio State players get mad. There's a fight. Michigan players are getting pepper sprayed by cops. We saw it in the Florida State game where Florida plants the flag. There's a fight. You had Mike Norvell yelling at Billy Napier. Who else? Who else tried to plant a flag and started a fight?
The video I sent the River. I sent him a video. Texas's team after A&M went into the tunnel, into the locker room, ran to the midfield and started stomping on the logo.
They stomped the logo. They did not have.
They didn't have a flag
because the cheerleader has the flag. The flag is the Texas flag. There it is.
I'm a videographer.
Yeah.
So you know.
The Texas flag is massive. And the cheerleader does not give it to the players.
Yeah, and then the cops got them off pretty quickly.
Right. And I noticed as I walked out, there was a cop standing on the midfield logo.
Yeah. So but there was no Texas A&M player on the field to get into a fight with, though. So do what you want with that.
Yeah,
but, that's a trend now.
I don't think there's going to be some sort of fine or what. I guarantee you, this offseason they will make you can't plant a flag on somebody's field. You can't.
So. Anyway,
get ready for that.
I think that it's interesting rivalry fodder, and I actually think it's really kind of funny because people will be,
if a rivalry doesn't end in a brawl, is it even really a rivalry?
Yeah, and then in 5 years from now, people are like, yeah, does your rivalry have people getting pepper sprayed in the face, and then they'll use it in promo videos?
Yeah.
So I don't get too wound up about it.
Also, if you're mad about somebody planting a flag on your field, win the game. I think that there's a simple solution. Beat them.
It's like everybody said the same thing. It's like, well, if Ohio State would have shown half as much passion,
don't get your ass kicked in your home stadium.
Shown as
think
much
about it that way
in the game as they were trying to get the flag out of them, maybe they would have won the game. It's just so whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, they are. I haven't done my bracket yet, but they're probably going to be in the 8, 9, 10 range for me. So and frankly speaking, I know that I have very Ohio's opinion. Oriented Ohio State opinion.
Well, you covered Ohio State for a long time.
But at the same time, too, it's Ohio State should not be in the play. This is to me, it's that was a bad, miserable season. And they get to lick their bootstraps or whatever the term is and go back.
I think you're mixing your sayings here.
You
pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you lick your wounds.
They're licking their wounds and pulling themselves up. They're licking their bootstraps. And they get to go play for a national championship. Now it's no.